Is that seawater? Look at this, dude. This is the most disgusting car I've ever touched. Did something I've never done today. Measured the shifter cables. Now that the shifter is in its final resting place and we know the routing of the cables, we can measure them out. So we measure from the shift lever arm through the bulkhead. This is where the shift cables are gonna pop through, right there, which is here on the car, right here. So then the cables are gonna run from here down the valley. Since we're gonna have a like a tunnel ram intake manifold, so it's gonna be sitting up. So there'll be room underneath the intake manifold for the cables. Cables will run down there, reverse, will go down to this lever here, and the up and down shift will run down, probably P-clamp around here somewhere, right to this. So I just used some wire right there to run it through and figure out, all right, from there to there to there. Got my measurements. Now I'm gonna call this place called Control Cables. I guess is where all the sand car guys order all their cables from, and tell them the measurements. But also, I believe I need to tell them from the bulkhead to the arm, that distance as well. But I've never done it, so I'm gonna give them a call and hopefully order up some cables, be able to move on to the next task. Okay, I have been figuring out expansion tank, oil catch can, and I made the plan for the oil catch can, which is why I have this material here, some thin wall box tube aluminum, because the catch can is going to go right in here, up there like this. K&N air oil filter or air filter breather will come right through there, so that'll be cool. It is going to come off of this, the oil fill, right? Because that's the top of it's like the highest point in the oil tank. It's gonna come off the oil fill into the catch box, catch box. And I'm gonna probably insert the tube kind of up in the box so that it can't drain back out, fill it with some steel wool and all that. But I think I got it figured out. I'm probably short 190, but I just ordered it. And for now, what I'm going to do is notch this piece into here, because this is going to get a coupler, and this is going to come 90 degrees into the box, basically. From the box to the catch can, just like that. But first step is notching this in, and it's a little bit of a wild notch. So mark it with the Sharpie and start notching it in. It needs a little bit more notching.
I am finally back to working on the C8 now that all the comp car stuff is done. We still have to prep for Irwindale, but meanwhile, it's gone for the weekend, so I get to play with this car a little bit. One of the first things that I did on this car when we started tearing it apart was make these plates for the Firewall. Just like how the C6 is, they're all made by hand, bent, and then cut. Riveted on, seam sealed and everything. But Matt and I want to put the water pump here when we get our new radiator. And so the bulkheads for the water lines will be going through here, that one. So I had to take out the other plate that I made, open up the hole and make a new plate. So the next step is going to be drilling holes and putting the bulkheads in. So the bulkheads will go through here. They're going to be -16. They'll run down the frame rail towards the back firewall, and I think I'm going to run them through the back behind the seat here, right next to the frame rail. Haven't really decided on the orientation yet, but first steps first is to get holes drilled right here. Let's go. So this is what the -16 bulkhead looks like. It's threaded, has a gap, and then it's threaded again so that you can put it through a firewall or something like that and just attach it with this bigger nut. It's pretty awesome. We use it on all of the race car stuff. On this car, because we're a little bit constrained on space, we have to use -16 instead of -20, which is all right. So first thing I have to do is take this nut off and figure out how I'm going to sort of orientate the bulkheads on that plate so that it's going to be easy to work on and there's enough space for all the lines and fittings and everything to go in there. Since I cannot see exactly where it needs to go on this side. I'm gonna mark out the center of this nut on the back side here, and then find the center of that, drill a little pilot hole through there so I know where I need to go, and then from there go ahead and use a hole saw to cut out the hole. So now that our tiny little pilot hole is drilled here, I'm gonna go ahead and bring out the big gun, cut out the hole so that we can get the bulkhead fit up on the far side. Then that will give me an idea of where to put it on the inside. There it is. Hopefully I did that right. So there we go. Bulkhead number 1 for the coolant lines is installed. By no means am I an excellent fabricator, but we do have ways to get this stuff fitted up and looking decent. Oh boy, the hole saw went flying. Just like the front bulkheads, we put some holes in the back firewall for the rear bulkheads so that the coolant lines can pass through to the back. But I think that's it for today.
It's never it.
It's never it. So here we are underneath the C8. Matt finished up his handbrake and shifter mount. You can see it right here. It is all welded up on the top and is like smoothed in and looks super duper nice. But on the bottom side, obviously it might be a little overkill to weld it in. But to make it look good, what we're gonna do is use this seam sealer. It's easy to work with. You just lay some blue tape up there so that you can get some straight lines and then smooth it in with a finger. You can paint over it, and I am going to go ahead and make that look good now. Check it out. It was a little bit difficult to film putting a bead of seam sealer up there. You shoot a little bit of the seam sealer out of the gun within the pattern. Use your finger, smooth it out so that it looks nice and good. And then while it's still wet, you want to pull off the tape. That way you get your nice straight lines. Because if you do wait till it dries, that will definitely not come out very nice.
The next thing that we're gonna do is the carbon foot plate, foot holder, dead pedal, all of that. So this needs to get trimmed right around here so that the pedals, this can sit right up next to the pedals. And then obviously the height needs to get trimmed down. HGK leaves this long so that you can trim it into your floor, notch it into your floor. But obviously it's a lot too long. So Alec is going to trim it down, but he's also gonna measure and compare it to the C6 and see exactly the height difference. Because these pedals are sitting up on that aluminum floor plate, it's a little bit different. Yeah, so we're gonna make sure that the distance from here to here is basically the same because of the foot plate. So that'll need a little bit of adjusting and then some mounting with some rivet nuts, I'm assuming. So sick.
So looking right here at the foot plate, what I'm gonna do now is take some measurements so that we can get the new one for the C8 to match this one. So based on the measurements out of the C6 comp car, it looks like when Matt originally did this and that thing, he went across starting from this edge, square, all the way over, left 2 inches on this side. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do here, since again, we're using the same pedal box. In the end, we need 50 millimeters here, and then we're gonna trim all the way around so that it fits just like the other car. Okay, so the first cut is done, which pretty much brings the dead pedal back to kind of match the rest of the pedal box so that it is nice and comfortable when you're sitting in there. Next step's going to be to trim the height down so that we can get this surface to be at the same height as it is in the comp car, like with respect to how high your feet are and close to the pedals. So take calipers. We're going to take a measurement for the thickness of the surface footbed is going to sit on. So obviously that's the floor. 15 millimeters. Now we go over here. Zero this caliper out once more. Because the floor in here is nice and flat, we know that all we need to do is match the overall height of this footbed and add the thickness of the change, the step in the floor from the C8. So let's see. Touching, and it's nice and square. So we got 36 millimeters, add 15 millimeters to that. And what is that, 50 millimeters? 36 plus 15, yeah, 51, 50 millimeters. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that marked out on here and get to chopping.
I hate stuff like this.
All right, so now that I have the recession kind of cut out and then the height figured out, notch in the base, see that, since the floor of the C8 is not at all flat like it is in the C6. So I got that one in the position that I want, right here on the right side. Next step is going to be to square up the foot plate here so that it looks right in the chassis. What I'm going to do is measure this distance, get those nice and equal, so that sits square in here. And then I just need to pretty much mark out the notch on this side for both the back there where the pedals mount to, and also for this little brace on the floor. Yep, once that's done, I'll probably get to drilling some holes so that we can figure out how to get this thing mounted.
Doing final fuel cell revision checks on with Chris. He's gonna give me the measurements from here to where the fuel cell pump is, because there's a whole redivision on that. Went back and forth 3 times. We'll talk about that later, but he just gave me the measurements. Alec has this fit. Damn, that looks good, dude. Very nice job. Very nice. Yeah, we just gotta figure out some hardwares. Okay, switching gears a little bit here. I'm going to recomplete the oil system stuff, which is the catch can. Got my box tube here for the oil catch can. Gonna cut it. I made my first measurement, and then we'll just kind of hold it up there, and I'll show you guys where my brain's at. Nice. Yeah, that's where I think it should go. My original plan was to put this breather through here looking all sick. Would have been great for K&N, would have looked cool, fill this hole. Then I went and put the trunk on, and the trunk basically goes right here. So that plan is out. Luckily this cut is gonna be long enough. I need to trim it a little bit more. But what the new plan is, instead of this sitting like this, it is now gonna be moved underneath a little bit more, and the filter is gonna go right there. So still cool, keeps all the oil stuff very tight, but now this makes this run very short through here. Box tube corner, silicone coupler, still be able to mount, and also be able to keep the air filter in a cool spot, keep everything super contained. No extra lines running from side to side, no extra fittings, no heavy nothing. Just keep it all as contained as possible. I'm just gonna drill a hole. It's gonna go right here. I'm gonna drill a hole and maybe just hold it with some blue tape and keep moving on. Maybe even weld it, but drill a hole, get going. Got a little sketchy there. Wondering why I cut so far on the inside of the line? This is why, right here. This way, when I lay it on the box tube, it gives me a nice place, a beveled edge for the weld to go. So same thing with this, cut inside the line. Perfect, for that eyeball follow, look at that. Hell yeah. All right, let's weld this thing. Not bad. All right, let's go check this thing out. I figured out how I'm gonna mount this thing. I had some leftover scrap from cutting the end caps here. Same material. All I did was just square off the edges. And this is going to be set right here, boom, welded. Set right here, welded. And that will be mounted from the top. which makes this nice and easy to install because that's gonna be such a short little piece of silicone. I think that this thing's gonna have to be like installed like this. Boom. And then having the tabs that direction will allow you to kind of swing it in. What I'm gonna do is drill both of these around the edges. I'll be able to weld this side on, but not this side yet until I weld the cap. So I'm gonna get this all squared away, grind this weld, and get this welded on. Should be pretty easy. Tacked on the tab here, just kind of held it in place, held it, ran over to the bench and tacked it. But you can see now, with this up in there, the tab is nice and centered on there. And I'll do one more on the other side. But first I want to mount this side fully so I can kind of get the swing and get it squared. So I'm going to mark it with the drill and pull it out and put a riv nut in. Almost forgot my safeties. Okay, while I was in there and I was checking the tab, the mounting tab, I went ahead and marked the inlet. So this is the vent from the oil tank to the box here. I have it marked up, boom, boom. That'll go just like that and get welded and should give us just enough room to put a coupler on there. So yeah, I'm gonna punch a hole in this and get it welded up. What are you running for? Huh? This goes right there. Sharpie marks line up. Boom, boom, boom. Super easy. I had this other side in the oil tank neck taped on there. So I marked it. I know where my hole needs to go. Drill this and then tack that and check the fitment on everything. That's a crazy looking oil tank top right there. Yeah, let's put it in and check it out. All right, let's see how this fits. Wow. Nice, lines up. Both of these, perfect, right where they need to be. So I'll weld them up and then we'll move on to the cap and the mount and the drain. But yeah, I'm happy with it. Pretty cool. Super short plumbing. Sick. That's welded. And this. That was kind of a pain. Had a little more gaps than I wish I would have had, but that's on there, that's on there. And I have basically marked out where I want my drain. So I'll just go an 1/8 NPT weld bung, drill it and then weld that up. We'll pretty much be there. Got some steel wool here, gonna pack it full. I noticed a huge difference when I had it in my last couch can. No matter what, it would just, like oil would come out of the K&N breather and just oily air. Once I put the steel wool in there, boom, it's basically stayed dry. Ooh, check this out. I even slid in a little piece of mesh right there to keep that stuff, keep the steel wool from coming out and into the oil tank through here. Oil tank is back in, tabs all drilled out on this thing, riv nut installed. Let's do the fitment. We'll see how it goes. That's it. That took a lot longer than expected, but damn, it's worth it. No plumbing.